very nicely in that matchup.
Yep, showed some great TVP. Game number 2 on ToD Altar will be starting here momentarily. I believe the players are ready. And, you know, what does ToD do to bounce back here? He chose ToD Altar, so he's basically saying, I want a macro, I want to get to the late game, I want to, you know, force my opponent to keep up with me in that regard. But, you know, on Metalopolis, Show's macro was pretty top-notch.
Yeah, Sjow did manage to not quite miss a beat. Was getting a little worried that he wouldn't add on all those extra barracks. You can sport up to even 9, sometimes 10 barracks once you get that gold properly muled up. However, Sjow ended up killing ToD before any of those concerns would even come to life. And now Sjow, how will he perform in the straight-up macro game? No gimmick can really work too well on his side here.
Yep, that's right. We do see Sjow spawning here in the top right-hand corner of the screen. He is our blue Protoss player. And over on the top, wait a second, I totally said that backwards. Sjow is not the blue Protoss player.
Do it one more time, baby.
Over here on the top right-hand corner of the screen, we do see the blue Protoss player, Millennium's ToD.
Yes, indeed.
And, of course, that means his opponent, the Red Terran, is going to be over here on the top left. That's going to be Sjow.
Interestingly, Sjow not planning that first depot anywhere close to the front of his base. Often, this is either a sign that a player wants to do kind of a 2-raxing opening, or will go 1 racks and then just immediately expand, fully intending to build a bunker there. I do, though, think that as a precaution, just planting the first command center as part of a wall-off is almost always in good taste.
Certainly. Barracks is down now for Sjow. First gateway down now for ToD. ToD Altar is a big map. It screams macro, and you often see these like 1 gate, 1 racks expand builds. And you know the gimmicky stuff, just purely by virtue of the attack distances, it's really hard to make the gimmicky stuff work on ToD Altar.
And, you know, one thing I do want to note about this map, you know, a lot of people will talk about getting the big Colossus balls up, getting the, you know, High Templar and Storm for those sorts of AoE effects. But I think that the one underrated upgrade on this map is the blink play. There are so many obnoxious alleys where medevacs can sneak along. I mean, even something as simple as medevacs coming into the back of your base from this giant cavern for the backside. Very difficult for a Protoss player to just position some corner units and deflect. Having the blink allows you to manage those medevacs quite easily, and especially never forget that blinking up into the main, a very underused tactic. We're slowly finding, you know, from the Warp Prism players that just building anything in your opponent's base, even 4 or 5 Zealots, can completely throw a Terran player off. Blink not only allows you to do that, but again, has that defensive advantage.
Right you are. We do see Reactor on this first barracks from Sjow. Is he going to throw down a factory? And it's not often that you see Hellion openings against Protoss, but ToD Altar is one map where they can work quite well. Just because of how open that natural is, there's no ramp that you can easily force field.
I would even extend it farther to say that, you know, a lot of factory openings end up working quite well on this map. Doing the factory, any sort of tank Banshee placement here to look up onto the high ground to kill off the natural expansion. Sjow, though, may very well just be doing a 1-1-1 style play.
It is another possibility. And hey, why not when you're up a game?
Yeah, I mean, we do see a lot of players rely on that when they're looking for a closing move win. And oh, ToD, hiding a Twilight Council. I would very much so anticipate DTs. He just does not smell like the big early blink rushing player. That seems more like a Hucky thing to do.
Yep, and for that to really work out, we need for Sjow to not build that starport, to not go for that 1-1-1, because of course with the Tech Lab and the starport, we'll be able to easily get a Raven out. Factory does lift, so he's going to build at least a Hellion or 2. I would anticipate probably 4 Hellions at least. You know, the Hellion openings are pretty solid against Protoss when they take an expansion, but with no expand there, it's going to be a lot easier for ToD to defend. He's not going to be spread out. He just has to have his units in one place. Probe is coming out as if he wants to drop that Nexus, though, so I'm going to have to stick my foot in my mouth.
Well, it's kind of a weirdly timed play. It looks like ToD did throw down a sentry, expanded, and is saving up to go for a Dark Shrine. So this can be a very difficult to detect build. But with these Hellions, you're going to slip all the way around the base, see virtually everything. So I'm certain Sjow will end up revealing all that is going on in ToD's base. But Sjow might not actually just be doing a regular Hellion harassment type play. He might actually just attack with his Marines and Hellions and go for a big push at the front. Oh my goodness, hallucinate. You know what this means. He is planting this pylon right here. Hallucinated Phoenix on the high ground.
Very smart, very smart. Yeah, one thing that's really annoying about Hellion openings against Protoss on this map is how long it takes for a Stalker to kill a Hellion. And you can see it's just so few Stalkers, so few of anything out for ToD right now. So if those Hellions were to get into his main base, even if his units are in the perfect position, it's gonna take a while for him to kill anything. So probes will definitely die here as these Hellions do push out.
See that sentry beginning to make its way back up, and oh, ToD sees it. ToD realizes that it is going to be a very thin defense. He doesn't know if he wants to go for that sentry defense. He doesn't know if he wants to go, for more Stalkers or just go all on the all-out offensive with the DTs. He realizes he has to build these Stalkers. He's morphing them all in, and Sjow is trying to get into a better position.
And surprisingly, Sjow turning it around there. I think this is one time when I would advocate just sacrificing those Hellions. Of course, Sjow is not as in the know as we are. We've got that eagle eye vision here. One Hellion. One very
no, Sjow.
Hellion
No.
Does not quite make it all the way in there. We do see that probe out on the map for ToD, so he will be able to drop a pylon, and then the DTs will be coming. No eBay yet. The only detection that is in play right now for Sjow is going to be in his scans, and he is using all that energy on mules.
He just used one mule. See the DTs moving cross map now. Will he immediately mule? I mean, part of you just wants Sjow to make that sloppy mistake, forget the mule, and then have enough energy.
Yep.
Oh God. That is such a painful moment now. The two DTs are coming up into the main.
Ugh.
And even though ToD didn't get to do that hallucinated Phoenix, warp the DT into the main trick, he is just getting to walk DTs right on in anyways.
Be about 20 seconds before there are any scans, and a lot of SCVs are going to die in that time. What is ToD going to do? Now, what is Sjow going to do? He could come back and try to use the splash damage of these Hellions to kill these DTs, but that is like a high skill maneuver, and just so hard. We see these Hellions running around the center of the map. Meanwhile, the DT is just wrecking tons of stuff in the main base of Sjow. This could just be GG.
I mean, what ToD needs to do now is just build nothing but Stalkers at the front. That versatile, every possible defense. Looks like there's one scan. ToD does end up losing the DT at the natural expansion. There's a counter drop by Sjow to try to hit the front. More Hellions try to waltz on in. Catching those probes. Whiffing the shot. And there's another cluster of workers. They get picked off. And meanwhile, the engineering bay is done. Sjow is in terrible shape, but is doing some pretty fun harassment here to try to keep ToD on the low. No! Sjow's lost his only hope of coming back into the game. Another scan. But he might not even kill it off in time. Barely does, but the main is in shambles.
Yep. Turret building in the natural will finally give some stability to Sjow, but look at how much damage he's taking. He's all the way down to just 16 workers, and man, I don't know that he can recover from that. All that ToD really has to do here is a couple warp-ins worth of Stalkers and then just go attack.
Ooh, the stim is 5 seconds from finishing. He's got to be careful, but he goes for the safer play, killing off all the probes, picking these Marines off one at a time. Sjow has almost no units. ToD can literally just attack the front with any set of gateway units and do incredible damage.
Indeed. And, God, man, so much damage being dealt here by ToD. 34 workers to just 15. 61 supply to just 34. Sjow does not want to tap out just yet because he does have a little bit of a standing army. But he's a long ways from victory, Day 9.
Yeah, these scans in here, I really feel like he should just lift the barracks, pull him back, play defensively until he has some method to push back into his main base, reestablish control, and ToD, I think, doing the smart play. He is going for the kill sequence, straight, pure, and simple. Chrono boosting as many of the Zealot upgrades as he can, warping in those DTs one at a time. Sjow, who is so low on units, low on barracks, and doesn't have exactly that many options other than trying to do drops and little small pushes. He will be overrun by this giant force of the simple Zealot Stalker.
Or they could just walk right past each other.
Well, the army of SCVs will be overrun by Zealot Stalker.
There you go. That does it, too. Now ToD has found Sjow's army, and he is going to force the fight, and that will, of course, be GG.
There's the good game.
Ties up the series 1-1. Interesting DT opening there from ToD.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly,